And we are live. Yes. Do we have an echo?
I think we do.
Wait, it went away.
Testing. Is your YouTube on?
No.
Oh my gosh. How do we have an echo?
Tell us in the comments if we have an echo, if y'all can hear us clearly.
Because in true Black Prose fashion, we have some random technical difficulties.
I mean, it wouldn't even be one of our podcasts if the technology was not trying to trip. But welcome, everybody.
Hi, everyone. In our true fashion of while we wait for people to come in, what have y'all been up to on this blackity black day?
I know. It's the beginning of Black History Month. I'm so lit.
I would just like to say that I'm blackity black all day, but for this particular month, I'm quite sure I aggravate my coworkers to death.
It's so funny because I feel like when I'm at work, I don't necessarily think about that or talk about it because I work in a very majority white workplace. And while I'm sure they would love to hear about it, and some of them may even ask questions, it just never comes up. So that's why I'm so excited that we have the Black Book Summit coming back, because we just get to revel in all things Blackness for 28 days.
Listen, I also work with the predominantly white. It's just that I work with the ones that like to pretend like it's not that big a deal.
Ooh.
So today's morning meeting, I was like, hello, everyone. Happy first day of Black History Month. I was like, happy Lunar New Year. It's a great day to be Black. How are y'all doing?
Was it just like silence?
Yes. Like no one responded, not one person. And then my boss was like, oh, okay, well, let's just get on. And I was like, and I will do this every day. I would have stopped after today. But they did not respond accordingly, and therefore I will do this again tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even a, hey, happy Black History Month.
These are the kind of people that ask, why isn't there a White History Month? So no, they're not going to. Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Well, while we unpack that travesty, I'm going to go ahead and say our intro as we wait for everyone to come in. And then we're going to have some announcements. We're going to start off with some announcements, and then we're going to wrap up with some announcements just so we know what's going on. But welcome, everybody, to Black Prose Podcast, where Black lives, Black voices, and Black stories have always mattered. If this is your very first time joining us, welcome. Brittany and I are 2/3 of Black Prose. We also have Troy Nicole. But my name is Oshale of Oshi Reads, and my co-host.
I'm Brittany from Melanin Eclectic. Also, shout out to our co-host, Troy Nicole.
Yes.
We have her back, so I'm just going to say that like every podcast.
But yes, if this is your very first time joining us, welcome. We're so excited about the Black Book Summit this year. Make sure that, again, if you are a newcomer, if you have any questions, you can definitely leave them in the chat. We're very interactive, and we love when y'all ask us questions because it leads down some interesting paths at times.
It does. So, I guess we're just going to start. So, what are you reading?
What am I reading?
Yeah, what are you reading today?
Okay, so I read the craziest stuff.
Oh my God, I should have never asked you. I should have never asked you.
So, I have been going through this phase where I've been reading bully romance pretty much since the pandemic started, right? Since this panini started, I've been reading bully romance. And I'll go in and out of reading. I'll read a lot of bully romance, and then after a while, because a lot of bully romances are new adult authors and they're independently published. And after a while, I start to recognize that in that genre, it's definitely quality over quantity because there's so many stories, and a lot of them are very repetitive and very similar. And it gets very just bogged down in the trope, and it starts to get old. But I say all that to say, I also like dark romance. And bully romance is a subset of dark romance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got to a place in my dark romance reading where I don't really know how I feel. I don't think I feel comfortable here. But I read a serial killer romance.
You
I
know,
told you about this.
I just
And I
why?
literally, in the process of reading it, I had a moment where I literally contemplated my entire existence on Earth. Like I had to set the book down and I was just like, I'm extremely unsettled right now.
Nicole asked which one because
Okay,
obviously.
well, let me open up my Amazon app because I have, or my Kindle, because I've literally blocked it out. Like, okay, I have mixed feelings because I enjoyed it and I'll probably read book two, but it's probably going to take me like a long time to read book two because I have to get over the fact that I did find it entertaining. But it was called There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. And she does write kind of edgy, dark stuff. And it's literally about two serial killers fighting over this girl. And one of them actually wants to kill her, like for real. And the other one kind of wants to kill her, but is also kind of likes her. But they're clearly both sociopaths. It's a lot. It's a lot. You asked me what I was reading.
I apologize. I thought this was gonna give me something that wasn't gonna have me side eye you, but we're gonna have a discussion about this eventually because what? No,
Yeah,
no, just
it's interesting. I finished it. I finished book one last week, and I've now moved on, and I have some books on my TBR for this month that I'm really excited about. So everything's from the library.
wow. Well, some people are intrigued by what you said, and other people are like me, where Aaron says, "I'm gonna pray for you." Listen, I'm in the same way. I feel
You
like
know,
I love Oshale to death, but sometimes Oshale will be like, "So I found this random book, super, super weird situation," and it's just like, ah,
the book
ah.
is so weird because not only are they serial killers, they're also artists. They're the two top artists in the San Francisco art world, and they're competing against each other. And one guy kills because he's just crazy, and then the other guy kills people because he's a sociopath. And whenever he doesn't like somebody, his solution is just to kill them instead of just stop talking to them. It's a lot. But anyway, moving on. So, have you heard about the book Wahala by Nikki May?
No,
Silence of the Lambs. It is.
please elaborate further. Because actually, yeah, that totally does give Silence of the Lamb vibes. Sorry, I'm closing my
It
blinds because
does.
I feel like my neighbors are watching me do this, and it got really awkward when I looked out the corner of my eye and saw people watching from their window.
That is weird.
That was really like I looked over and I was like, "Oh no, not today!" Like that was really creepy. All right, okay. Let's see. So we have uh Miss WOC Reader said that I'm reading a vampire elf romance. Yeah, go ahead and drop that title so I can add that to the list for Naked. Thanks.
Oh
Um,
no.
I'm
Uh,
listening to Digging Up Love by Chandra Bloomberg. Okay. I'm reading Black Love Matter, dropped at midnight. Okay. Oh, I'm scared. Ted said he read so much dark romance and indie authors when he first got his Kindle.
yeah,
Ha!
I'm like, oh no.
Why?
Look, the cover
I
is so cute. You guys see that cover? You can
I
barely
heard
see it.
Wahala has a lot of anti-blackness and self-hate in it. Why?
Why? Like seriously, I'm so excited to read this.
I just well, Abominable said that you should read it because y'all need to discuss it. So, yeah. Nicole is reading Solid Soul by Brenda Jackson.
Nice,
Abominable
nice.
said I just finished Ethic Book 6. Wow.
Oh, the Epic
Um,
series is intense.
I'm reading Akata Woman.
Woo!
I don't know why all of y'all are reading all these serious things. Like, I lost my bookmark in the airport. I'm about, which is still very devastating for me. I have like this much left to read. If I didn't have to work on Melanin Eclectic stuff tonight, I would totally finish that book tonight. But
I'm
anyway,
kind of mad about Wahala now. Like, I'm really upset because
I kind of want you to still read it so you can tell me. But obviously, I'm just gonna message Miss WOC Reader and ask her like what happened.
because for those of y'all that don't know, Wahala is a Nigerian thing. Like, we say, oh, this Wahala now. So when I actually saw a book was called Wahala, like I was so excited on the inside because I was just ready to bask in all of the cultural familiarity. And now you're telling me that it's a dud.
Yeah, Miss WOC Reader said many people I trust said the biracial girls in Wahala had issues with their black side. You know what? I, I just
I'm intrigued now.
anyway. I think like okay, we've talked about what we're reading, and I'm sad about Wahala. But if y'all read it, let me know. I personally will not be reading it because I'm just in this place where I want to read Happily Ever After, which is something we're definitely going to talk about later on in this podcast because I've had a serious issue with wanting to read Happily Ever After and not finding what I'm looking for. But for now, welcome to the Black Book Summit 2022.
We are beyond excited.
Beyond, if you guys don't know what that is, basically this is Black Prose's Black History Month, where our goal is to not only be blackity black black, but shout out more blackity black black book content creators for you guys. So if you don't know, this is kicking it off with our podcast, just meeting us if you've never met us. Hopefully this makes you want to stay. Our panels don't actually start until the 12th. We're taking a break for the first month or for the first Saturday of the month because if you don't know, there is a lot going on this Saturday. So you won't have Black Prose, but there are plenty of other things by other Black content creators that you can participate in this Saturday to still get your blackity black book trope thing going on. And then also in true fashion, we have our first panel that is on February 12th at 2 p.m., not CST. Hold on, let me correct that. It's 2 p.m. EST, so Eastern Standard Time. And the first panel is It's Not a Reading Slump, It's a Pandemic. And so for the week, we're going to be introducing you guys to our host, our panelists. We're also going to be trying to make sure that we stay with our goal of giving you as many new people to check out as possible, with the underlying premise of when we introduce you to somebody, that is not a cue for you just to go follow them and be flat. That is an initiative to interact with their content. Do not mess up their numbers. If you have no desire to interact with them, do not even follow them. Do not mess up their numbers because these are the numbers we have to give companies and publishing companies to prove to them that we are worth paying. Yes. So do not mess up their numbers. That is a very big important thing for this year because we all know what happens when people pander and start following us just to say they follow Black people but don't do nothing but follow Black people. So yes, rant over. I'm going to say that like every weekend just to remind people like the goal here is not to just get more followers, it's to get more engagement because engagement is what matters.
So for our second weekend, we have our panel called The Book Critic, Our Book Content Creators, Real Reviewers. And that is going to be on Saturday, February 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that week, we'll be introducing you to our moderator / host and our panelists for that panel. If you're not following us on social media, that's where a lot of this information goes first. So Instagram is kind of our main social media page where we'll be introducing you to all the panelists and the hosts, telling you a little bit about them, tagging them. So again, you can go thoughtfully and meaningfully engage with them and follow them. And then we are also going to be posting more things on Twitter. We realize that a lot of you use Twitter for information on what's going on in the book world. So we are going to be posting stuff to Twitter starting this week.
Yeah, I have to get back on it. My bad. Once I started scheduling posts, I forgot all about Twitter. Like that's just
We like
demonic.
mini boycotted Twitter for a
Yeah,
while.
it
It
really
got
was like
toxic.
because you can't unless somebody knows how to schedule tweets for free, like you can for Instagram, then like it's like I forget that it exists. Like we're not doing it. So,
I have a
oh,
question.
what question?
What is one thing that you're looking forward to doing this Black History Month? This is just a general question for everybody.
Enjoying other people's content rather than trying to push a plethora of our own. Uh,
Ooh,
because I want to actually enjoy Black History Month.
yes.
And though I love creating and curating events for us to do things, I also want to be able to enjoy them without feeling wore out because last year I couldn't really participate in anything live. Like I always
Mm,
had to watch playbacks
yes.
because I was tired. And it was just like, well, crap. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm gonna participate in the blackness as a participant this year. Like I'm not participating in any particular readathons this year or this month, just because this month is a heavy deadline month for me. Um, but I am going shopping. Like here in Houston, if you live in the Houston area, there is this group called the Black Market. You can
Ooh.
also follow them on Instagram, but they have multiple pop-up vending events and they're all black owned businesses, and you can always go on their site or their Instagram and check out which shops are going to be there. Like I'm going to go restock on my candles, my lotion, um my food. It's just like, yeah, I'm
That's
just like
nice.
I'm going to participate this year.
Yeah, like actually be a part of it as opposed to having to make stuff for it. That makes
Yes,
sense.
because it takes a lot of work. And I just think that while yes, we do need events and we do need to be the ones curating it, it's also still very tiring. And I think that even with the black content creators that are doing stuff, like I hope everyone is actually taking a moment to just enjoy our month because
I
so much
definitely feel
more
like
to
it
do.
can be a trap where you're so busy creating. Like for some reason, I always think a lot about like Instagram and like the Instagram reels, because a lot of y'all are freaking amazing with the content. Like some Instagram reels and TikToks, I'm just like, the creativity, like the editing, like everything is so good. And I feel like you can get caught up in this wheel, like rat race of, okay, gotta make, gotta make, gotta make, gotta make. And it's like, are you even enjoying yourself? Are you even enjoying other people's creativity? Are you engaging with other people, meeting people, like enjoying the fun side of creating, enjoying the fun side of like being a content creator in the community? Or are you just so busy creating that you can't even enjoy your own creation?
Yeah, like this Saturday is a content day for the month of February. So we're going to be recording YouTube videos, TikToks, Reels, and they're all just going to be saved. And so throughout the month, I'll be posting, and it's like, you'll think I'm doing all this stuff. And it's like, no, baby, that's actually been scheduled since February 5th. I forgot it was even posting today. Like, I think like the only thing I'll have to do throughout the month is maybe caption. I think that's
Yes.
like also a reminder, guys, like we're captioning. Okay, we're captioning with
Yes.
actual English, not our made up English. Thanks so much.
I know we're trying our best to be more inclusive and to be aware of people that really need the captions. And it sucks. It sucks to think like, wow, there's a whole population of people that can't enjoy content when there's no captions, you know?
Yeah, YouTube, I think cuz I try to caption my videos more. Um I hate the fact that YouTube doesn't form captions that I can just go auto correct or go correct it like I used to.
Yeah.
Because like I will post a video ahead of time and think maybe if I give it enough time, it will populate and I can just go make the corrections.
Right.
Nope, I'm sitting there typing out my whole script. So I've started writing scripts so that I could just say the script and then I can copy and paste the script into the caption because
That's smart.
I was like, listen, love this. Also would love somebody else to pay somebody else to do this, but one step at a time, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But I would,
Also, oh,
yeah, you didn't answer.
me.
Hey, Rachel. Yeah, you haven't answered yet.
Oh, my own question.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like I am kind of vibing with what Erin's saying. Like she said, I live every month like it's Black History Month, so I'm gonna just continue to spread love, and that's kind of where I'm at too. Um, is I read Black books all year long. I support Black content creators all year long. I follow Black content creators and engage with their work and repost them to my stories and do all this stuff all year long. So it's not anything new, like specifically that I'm going to be doing this month that I don't do all the other months of the year. But I think the vibe, the energy during Black History Month, it's conflicting, right? Because the vibe and the energy is so amazing and so lit, but I also feel like the world almost like gaslights people during Black History Month. There's always some bullshit that pops off. I can't remember what it was last year, but every year there's always like some bullshit that happens in the media or like with somebody or with a situation that is like specifically gaslighting our community.
Like
And
the bomb threats on all the HBCUs.
there we go. Like there's always something every year. And so it's so frustrating, right? Because we only get these 28 days. And so I'm like torn because a part of me is like, oh my gosh, the energy, the vibe this whole month is so elevated, so much, so full of love and celebration. And then the other side of me is like, Lord, what they gonna try to do to us this month? Try to bring us down. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, I think that's another thing we see every year too, the diaspora wars. It's just like, yes, we are aware that the Black History Month that we are celebrating is the American Black History Month. We are aware that there's a Black History Month in October in the UK. We are aware, but like, I hate the diaspora wars. Like,
What exactly are they even talking about? See, this is why I don't go on Twitter.
take a wild guess. When you think of diaspora wars between the Black people, what do you think?
There's so many things that happen. Like I think about like, trying to prove like who is better, type of thing. Like, oh, well,
We've talked about these kind of things plenty of times, like
it's
African
like,
versus
yeah,
African
like
American,
African versus
Caribbean
African
versus,
American. And it's
yeah.
not even just like African versus African American. It's like descendant of chattel slavery versus non-descendant of
Oh, we
slavery.
haven't even gotten to ADOS yet because ADOS come in strong, hot, and heavy.
And so there's just a lot of like back and forth with that. I don't know. I guess I'm just the kind of person that feels like credit should be given where credit is due. Like if it wasn't for the amazing headways that African Americans made in America, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had an opportunity to immigrate here. And so it's like, what's so bad about celebrating that?
You know what? Like, I was going to segue to a totally different topic, but this right here will be the discussion of today. What the fuck is authentic Blackness?
Yeah, I hate the fact that in 2022, we still have to say that Blackness is not a monolith. That
Right.
just goes to show how dangerous and pervasive stereotypes and just the caricatures of Black people that have been spread through media, um, how in like they've inseminated into like literally the fabric of our society. Like the fact that we have to continually say Blackness is not a monolith. Blackness, there is no authentic Black experience. Like having
Yeah.
our skin and our history and what we've been through and how we're treated in society is enough. And it's really frustrating. And it's gone to a point where I don't even want to say it anymore. Like I don't want to say Blackness is not a monolith anymore. I don't.
I mean, one, I agree. I don't believe that Black is a monolith, and I've always been under the belief that when we choose to argue with this particular narrative and argue with each other, we're like missing the whole point. It's like to sit there and try to find who's the elite among the blacks is exactly what white supremacy has been doing for smooth centuries, trying to say that one group of black people are better than the other because of insert colorism or classism or whatever. So it's like we are still falling into this same trap as a community. And I'm just like, come on, we're still doing this. Oh, I am so sorry. So to be clear, ADOS, when did when was the first time I saw the phrase ADOS? I think that was like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I started seeing ADOS pop up more, and I actually recruited to be a part of the ADOS or the ADOS chapter in Houston.
Really?
Which I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it was one of those moments where I was like, wait, what? I'm sorry, what? But it's the American Descendants of Slavery.
Yes.
So basically, it is another separation
Yep.
of Black people where we are specifically talking about those who are descendants of chattel slavery.
In
Um,
America.
so specifically in America, where we're supposed to, it originally started off as reparations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was about. It was about how we deserve reparations because there have been other atrocities around the world where people have, in fact, received reparations. But for some
Yes.
reason, when it comes to ADOS,
Right.
us, not only have we not received reparations, we've also been gaslit and been told that it's not that serious, that it's not
Yep.
something that was that big of a deal. We
Yep.
were treated well and fed, like they have done nothing but try to downplay what our ancestors have gone through. So that's what ADOS what started it, honey. ADOS now,
A mess.
where there are hoteps, there are ADOS. And where there are ADOS, I don't know why my picture is on Oshale's thing, but she'll be back. Where there are, it's another separation. While I understand the original intent of ADOS, I actually understood that, and I did agree with the reparations. But there are certain parts of ADOS and the need to be separated from other Black people in the diaspora that I have an issue with because I just don't. Um, I don't like this is a perfect example. Before they were calling it African descendants of slavery until they realized Caribbean people are also African descendants of chattel slavery. And that's what I'm talking about right there. It was like, this is supposed to be the descendants of chattel slavery. But then they went further and was like, no, we're talking about just these. And it's like, no, we all literally went through the same thing, just in a different geographic location. So it's another unnecessary separation. In my opinion. I know that some people will disagree with me. And the reason that I'm saying that it is an unnecessary separation is because the original goal of ADOS is no longer the goal. Like
Yeah.
they constantly like to specify why we are so different than everyone else. We're literally doing what we didn't like being done to us.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't agree with that. I do not agree with further separating Black people. Yes, we all have different experiences, and that's because Black is not a monolith.
We're not saying that anymore, Brittany. We're not saying that. In
What else can I
2022,
say?
moving forward,
Technically, I am a American descendant of chattel slavery, but I grew up in Japan. So a lot of my Blackness has been questioned so many times.
mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, well, you don't talk Black. You don't do this. You don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We really, as a community, I want us to just uplift what's different.
Yes.
Because that's what being Black is so great for. Like, we are all like, we have, as a collective, there are certain things that you can say in a group of Black people, no matter where they're from, and we all get it. It's like,
Yes.
It's an unspoken blackness that is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It's one of my top favorite things about being black. I could give you a look without saying anything, never have met you in my life, could give you a look and you're saying exactly what I'm saying. And how will we both acknowledge it?
Yes. And it's
Like
not just that shared understanding. There are so many things that when we actually start talking to one another, that we realize that we grew up seeing and doing despite our cultural differences. Like all the things that, happened in our childhood with our parents. And like, I know one of my favorite pages on Instagram is like the Black Culture page. I repost them all the time because they are constantly sharing things that is so funny because we all do it. Like I grew up in a Nigerian household. Like Brittany, you grew up in Japan, but obviously your parents are American. But when
very
we have
black.
these conversations, we like the conversations about like not leaving lights on, always having a kitchen light on, the kitchen closing at a certain time. Like I could go on and on. And it's
Street
like
lights.
in my Nigerian household, I was experiencing the same things that you were experiencing in your household, despite our cultural differences. It's stuff like that that brings us together and really bonds us. And we're like, wow, we're really all like, we really share this bond because we do a lot of the same stuff despite where we grew up, what type of household we have, what type of language we spoke in that household, what our culture is, what our nationality is. Like we have so many commonalities from the way we were raised, the way our parents may have spoken to us about certain things.
Right.
There's more that unifies us than divides us. And so it's frustrating when we constantly pick fights with each other, when we're constantly turning against each other and trying to create even more divisions within one another, because there's actually more that we have more things in common than we have not in common.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect response because it's like, again, we are not all the same. But if you ask your mama to go to McDonald's, she told you
Yes.
the same thing my mama told me. Like,
Yup. Just my mom said it in a Nigerian accent, but it was the same shit.
same thing, different mother, It's just
Like, you
like,
got McDonald's money? Oh, we want money. You have money from McDonald's? Like, it's the same thing. It's just different
and my
culture.
mom, you act like you pay some bills. You got some McDonald's money? Okay. Like when my parents came to visit for Christmas, you know what I got excited to say? Because I
What?
noticed that there were lights on and we were in the
Yes.
room. Why y'all walking around like y'all paid a light bill in this house? Like the pure excitement that I felt to repeat what my mother said to me over and over and over.
Look,
It was like, I'm so
there is this
excited.
there's this one TikTok that lives rent free in my mind at all times because I felt it on such a soul deep cellular in my DNA level that I just have to share it. But it's essentially this guy, this Black man, packing his lunch for work. And he puts it in this nice lunchbox. The lunchbox is nice, okay?
Nice.
And he's like, this doesn't feel right in my spirit. And he takes everything out and he leaves and he comes back with the Target bag, okay? And he puts his lunch in the Target bag. And he's like, yup, this is it. This is me. And I'm like, yo, do you know how many times I have opted for a Target bag or a grocery bag over the nice lunch boxes that I have purchased?
And I
My,
have like
my
5
brother.
million lunch boxes because of TJ Maxx.
I was like, my brother feels this on a
Right.
so deep level.
That's like the one where it was a guy, he literally ran through his house and turned on every light in the house and then ran back to his room. And when your mom came home, she was like, who the left all these lights on? And I'm just like, I hurt watching him turn the lights on. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's just
It
like,
felt wrong. It felt wrong.
like this, my mother found out turning off the lights every time you leave the room pulls more electricity. So now she's always yelling about turning them off. My brain will not compute that. I'm
Right.
sure that you're probably correct, but my brain is
But
like,
yeah,
no.
it doesn't sit well with our spirit. Like it's just
Like I can hear
not
my mother
comfortable.
telling me that I'm wasting money right now just by reading that comment. I was wasting money. Oh my gosh. Everybody's talking about plastic bags.
Yep, plastic bags.
Here's a question. When you were younger, did you have a specific TV time when you were younger? And if you had a TV time, what did you have to do before you could get that TV time? I'm just curious. I just want to see in the comments, basically, because Oshley had to go get her food, and food is also important. Also, did I hope everybody ate and like hydrated and stuff that too.
So for in my family, we were allowed to watch TV. We were pretty much allowed to watch TV for like an hour after school, but we had our shows because like growing up, me and my brother were really into like the CW shows.
Yeah.
And so the CW shows started like, it was usually like Monday night, Tuesday night. There was always like a show every night. And they would start around 7, 8 o'clock and wrap up around 9. So we were allowed to watch our shows after school. And then on the weekends, we had no rules. We could watch whatever we wanted within reason. But our rooms had to be clean first. Every Saturday morning, we had to help my mom clean the whole house to like Christian worship music, blasting. We had to have our homework done. And that was pretty much it. It was like, if your homework is done and your room is clean and you help clean the house and you did your chores, you're good.
No, we were allowed to during the week, we were allowed to watch TV for an hour. But it was like, do your homework, go outside and play. Be home by the street light, and then you could watch your little hour TV. Because we didn't have TVs in our own room. As my dad put it, that sounded like somebody who pay bills. We had a family room TV, and the moment we argued about what we wanted to watch on TV, we lost our TV privilege.
Really?
And every night we read for an hour before bed. And sometimes, if my mom caught you not reading, you'd have to write a book report.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so
When
intense.
we were younger, my mom required us to read it was like, you can watch TV for a while, but every night before bed, we read books.
I like that. I like your mom for doing that.
I don't like the book report part. That part still sucked.
Yeah,
but
no,
obviously
that's horrible.
the book reading part I was totally down with. Like, I got in trouble because I would be reading past bedtime.
Yeah, I got in trouble for reading. Like for me, my parents didn't mind that I read. I think my dad really liked that I was a reader. My mom's a reader too, but she is very sporadic with her reading. She doesn't read all the time. She can go whole years without reading. But I would get in trouble for when it was lights out. They would come in my room and I'm like underneath the blanket with my
flashlight.
And they would be like, okay, Miss Ma'am, your bedtime was 9:30. It is currently 11:45. Why? Why is this happening right now? So I would always get in trouble for that.
Well, I mean, my upbringing was overly religious, but I don't regret. I don't actually say that. I can say that though my upbringing was very religious, I don't regret any of my childhood. My childhood was lit. I mean,
I would say the same. Like my upbringing was also very religious, but I don't know, in a weird way, I thrived in that environment because I think I was the type of kid that really needed a strong ideology to cling to and to make sense of like life. So I think I actually thrived in that type of environment. I need things to make sense. And that's one thing religion does. It'll be like A leads to B, which leads to C.
Right. I didn't start questioning any of it until like later on. Oh man, did my thing freeze? Okay, so it's actually Oshley who froze, not me. I was like, what happened? Yeah, you froze.
What?
So I was like, let me wait for you to come back. But no, this time we heard you. The internet did not cut you off this time.
Okay.
We heard everything, and then you just froze in place. And I was like, was that me or her?
Okay, I got you.
Okay, so we have one more topic we have to discuss for today. So I've been in this happily ever after reading mood, right? Where, well, obviously, I mean, minus a Katsu Woman, because I'm also getting like all of my like closure that I needed for this series. But I have wanted to read happily ever after contemporary Black books, right? Why every time I find a contemporary Black book where it's like, a girl, an adult woman in, her 20s or 30s, like navigating the world that she's in, like trying to be a woman. Like in the description, in every description, it's like, this is a story of race and perseverance. I'm like, actually, what I want it to be is a story about a Black woman being mad that she's in line for coffee when she's late for work, or realizing that her twist out did not really give what she needed to give, so she's trying to put a wig on. I want some regular, degular books.
You want a slice of life. You want a slice of life book.
Yes, I want a slice of life book. The only way that I'm getting that is if I go to Black romance, which again is not terrible because y'all are forcing me to read Black romance. But I'm like, why is it that contemporary rise, our stories, always make sure that they include some little description in the description, like about race and perseverance? I just want y'all to know, as a Black woman, I am tired of persevering. In fact, I want to read about a girl who laid up in bed all day and ate Oreos and wine for 3 meals a day. Like, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the girl who's in an apartment who accidentally locks herself out, and she's literally barefoot with her dog and like runs into like a Black dude and he hates her or something. Like, I want the rom-com stories.
Yes.
That can be in romance, that's fine. But also I want the ones where it's like how like shows like New Girl and stuff. I want Black people to not just be a side character, but to be a main character in stories like that. Cause I'm like, I just want those girls. So my question today is, if you know any of those books, leave them in the comments, because obviously I'm gonna make a chick lit book list to post on IG when we're done with this. But I want y'all to know that's been the mood that I'm in, and I have not been able to find it. I've been searching Google, reading blogs, and nothing is giving me what I'm looking for when I read the description.
I think that publishers go through trends. Publishing goes through trends, and the trend right now is Black books are finally popular, but they do have to include like the struggle. They do have to include the trauma of Blackness. And that's something that's very popular right now, and something that everyone is talking about, and that people want to talk about and want to discuss and want to be seen reading, whether they want to seem woke if they're non-Black, or they want to educate themselves, or diversify their reading, whatever the case may be, or, for Black readers to see themselves in books finally. And I think that this trend has to completely wear itself out until we can finally, it's going to open the door for you to get what you want. But we have to go through this first, which is annoying. But eventually, there are going to be more readers like you who get tired of it and who want to see like a Black, like kind of like when we read, what was it that we read where it was like it took place in space? The name of the book is blanking.
Escaping Exodus?
Escaping Exodus. People are going to want more things like that. And I mean, we have Black SFF, of course, but people are going to want what you're wanting, where it's a little bit more mainstream. It's more contemporary. They're going to want like a slice of life type thing, like a comedic type book, or chick lit, or just something light and fun and that you can escape into, pure escapism minus the trauma.
Obviously you guys know I'm a hardcore fantasy reader, so the fact that I am not in the mood to read heavy fantasy is a whole mood. So, but like the fact that I was like okay with stepping out of fantasy to go search and could not find anything, so I'm actually still reading fantasy right now because I could not find anything to fit what I was looking for. I was like, honestly though, like, why?
This comment right here.
I know. And it's so frustrating because I'm like, in the book world, like the people reading these books, like we exist. We have stories that would be perfect chick lit. So why can't we have that? I mean, we got a whole section of new adult. Give me it there. I don't know. I'm very frustrated because to this day, I'm still not finding that book that's going to like give me that ugh. And I've actually read the Brown series by Talia Hibbert, but I was saying like that is a good series. However, that is a romance series. And I'm specifically looking for, there's a whole genre of contemporary where they're just existing. Yeah,
Yep.
they might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a bae, and that's cool, but like that's not the main focus of the story. So it's just like like I said, I want like New Girl in a book with me because I exist in a world. I'm a regular 30 something year old woman, single woman, who's fallen off ladders and tripped downstairs and done all of that stuff. And I'm like, we exist outside of the world of trauma.
Yeah.
We exist outside of the narrative of strong Black women. Like, we exist outside of always having to solve problems. Like, we exist as normal people. Like I said, I want a woman that literally sat up in bed and ate Oreos and drank wine all day, because that's what I did the day after my birthday. And I was thinking to myself, I've never read a book about a Black chick doing something like this, like,
Right.
at all. I want it. So, if you're a writer and you want to write it, that also sounds wonderful. So that was my rant for today. That's been my frustration for the month of January. And I've just been waiting to share that with you guys, because I'm like, maybe somebody in our audience knows a book that will give me what I'm asking for. Because again, though I do go on dates, the majority of my life is not centered around a man. So I would like to read a book where it also is not centered around
Man,
some dick.
that is
Yeah.
a word.
Yeah.
That is a word. And I kind of agree with you, Gina.
As long as authors are willing to write them, because they want to make a full-time living off writing. On one
It's
hand, I
true.
cannot be mad at them for that because they want to make their money, but it's still frustrating.
It's a very real thing. It's kind of like, do you want to get published or not? So you know exactly what type of story to write to get the publisher's attention. That's why I say it's a trend. But I'm the kind of person where I'm looking to the future. And I think that we are going to get more readers, especially the younger generation that's coming up. We are going to get a lot more readers who are going to get tired of reading that. And they're going to want something different. And they're going to want Black stories to progress past the trauma stage. So I think it's coming. It might take a while, but I do think it's coming. We just have to get through this stage first. It sucks. And I mean, there are going to be a lot of authors, I think, that's why you got to think outside of the box and maybe even look into like more self-published authors and authors who are published by smaller imprints and smaller houses.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to start really looking into. I'm pulling out my reading journal because somebody's recommending what my heart might need. Also, I'm doing a February plan with me in the reading journal tomorrow on Read with Melanin.
This is a good question.
Hold on, I'm trying to find an empty page because apparently I've been writing a lot for the month of January.
Ooh. Queenie was extremely frustrating, and not in like the cute Bridget Jones's Diary way, but in like the, oh my God, you need to go to therapy, you need help type of way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it.
Erin, I think you should do it.
Listen, I know that fear is real. But if we are constantly run by fear, we're never going to be the full potential that we deserve to be. This is what y'all be telling me all the time when I tell y'all I'm scared to release a product or something. So like, I'm just repeating it back to you. We already know you're great. We just want you to go ahead and act on it.
Yep.
So The Accidental.
Let's see. Have you read Tia Williams' The Accidental Diva or The Perfect Bind? Nope, but Brittany is writing those down.
Yep, because I will definitely be checking them out.
Yeah, Bethany. Queenie was, and even worse, I listened to the audiobook. I wish I had read it. I wish, because at least if I had read it, there would have been some type of like separation mentally. I would have been like, all right, I'm gonna put this book down. But when you're listening to an audiobook, I almost feel like audiobooks fully immerse you because it's auditory, so it's involving more of your senses than just your eyes. It's
especially if it's a good narrator. If it's a good narrator, like, I'm immersed.
Completely immersed. And so I'm literally, this is me when I was reading Queenie. Like, I'm sure, because when I read Queenie, I worked at a job where I had to commute. I am sure the other drivers on the road thought I was crazy, because I would literally be screaming in my car like, Like, and the things like her antics, I would be like, oh my God, I can't. Like, I would literally have to pause the audiobook, like, no, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
I
Frustrating
can't.
reading experience. But then I'm also like, or doesn't that also speak to the author's talent that they could bring
Yes.
that much out of us from
Yes.
that character? Yes.
I think we don't give enough credit to authors that are able to evoke emotion out of us, though. And I do think that the author of Queenie managed to make me hate an imaginary person. Like,
Also, speaking of authors that really bring emotion out of you, this is a controversial one. I'm also currently listening to the audiobook Midnight Sun, which, as y'all know, is Twilight from Edward's perspective. Talk about a mind fuck. Talk
considering that he's a pedophile
about
with an audiobook, sure.
a mind. To me, it's a study in somebody who truly, truly, to their core of their being, loathes themselves. And it is not fun to be in the mind of someone that literally hates their own existence. It is crazy. I was like, oh, is this what people with self-hate go through? This is how their mind works. Interesting.
You know how I feel about Midnight Sun, because it's basically a book about a pedophile wanting a teenager. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care that he died when he was a teenager. I said what I said. Gross. Ew. Shame on her. Shame on the author. Author. Shame.
I mean, there are a lot of
Shame.
like very borderline questionable things in the Twilight series, like the whole imprinting thing and how Jacob imprinted on a infant. I mean, there's a lot, but
She
I
has
just had
way
to
too
bring
many
that up
examples of pedophilia for those books to still be considered hits. I
I just
don't
have
care
to
what
bring it
anybody
up
says.
because that's one thing that Stephanie Meyer does is she brings out the emotion and you're like, wow,
Yeah,
I'm
because
feeling
it's
a lot of things
gross.
right now.
Because it's gross.
I've seen authors complaining about the younger readers gravitating towards the backlist white books.
Do you mean the blacklist white books?
I need clarification on that.
Yes, please. Clarification. Okay, so I got some other. So the suggestions that I got in the chat were Tia Williams, The Accidental Diva, and The Perfect Find. Yinka, Where Is Your Husband? And then
Oh, I
Wash
heard that
Day
one.
Diaries. Who is Wash Day Diaries by? Because you know I'll read a good comic in a quick second.
Hey, novelist, welcome.
Luster by Raven.
Oh, I heard things about Luster, but I don't know. From the cover alone, it looks like it's steeped in trauma, so I stayed away. Was I wrong? Let me know.
I don't know, but at this point, I'm just adding it to the long because I want to have lists for my moods, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, okay, I'm back to my mood where everybody got to die. Like, okay, here are all the books that are in that category.
Nice.
Like, I'm in a mood because I mean, I'm forced to read romance too much this year. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm forced to read it, but this is the kind of romance I'm looking for. Like, I need the men to be described to be fine as hell. Here's my list of those books where I know the men are described to be edible chocolate, like,
Right.
so
Fair.
I'm going to continue trying to make lists, but
Okay,
I'm
we're
going to
getting
be Jamila Rouser and Robin Smith.
yes.
Okay.
I love this.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. Obviously, after I double check all of these, we'll make a list and we'll put it on Black Pro's Instagram. It always takes me a minute to make these lists because I always have to go through and like verify. I heard Luster is another one dealing with whiteness and trauma. Okay, so again, I'll check it out, but if it doesn't fit the description, it won't be on the list. That's basically how we'll do it. Because I want black girl magic. I want happy black girl, and I just want to be able to read it and be able to identify like with her everyday experience. I want to
You
be
want
able to,
something lighthearted.
yeah. It's just like I don't want everything to be like, oh well, she's the only woman in a sea of mediocre baby boomer white men. Like no, like I want it to where like She got off work and she went to go meet her friends for happy hour, where her hoe friend is relaying her latest escapade, where she met like
I
a
know
sugar
what you
daddy or
want.
something.
You want Harlem.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You
I want Harlem in
want
the
Harlem
book.
as a book genre.
Yes, I want Harlem as a book genre. That is so perfect.
I love that show.
Just
Yeah,
like
that's what you want.
we deserve Sex in the City too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like Harlem gave me that, but better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so interesting and almost to me kind of shade, even though I think it was unintentional shade, that Harlem came out at the same time as the Sex and the City reboot, because I was like, there's no contest here. There's no contest. That Sex and the City reboot is just basura. It's not good.
Basura.
And I will stand on that 10 toes down.
I haven't watched it. I watched the first few episodes and they did something very terrible and I was done. I was like, peace.
I could only get to episode 2. I think I got halfway through episode 2, or maybe actually made it to halfway through episode 3, and then I just was like, I can't continue.
Apparently Harlem is already giving in Wash Day Diaries. So
Nice.
that's a comic. So if I have to go like own every one of them, I will go own every one of them. Wash Day Diaries does deal with some tough stuff, grandparents with Alzheimer's, mental health struggle, but it was balanced out with so much joy and friendship. See,
I like this.
These types of things that they're dealing with is something that anybody could deal with no matter what their race is.
Yeah.
And that's the type of struggle that I'm okay with reading in the books, because it's like I don't want to read it about like how like my older brother got profiled by the police and like now I'm hoping that he's alive but we don't know where he is. Like, no, if my if my grandma has Alzheimer's and I'm reading a chapter where she straight slapped me because she didn't recognize who I am, that's very relatable. And not because I'm Black, but because there are multiple people of multiple races who have dealt with an elderly family member with Alzheimer's. So like that I'm okay with. Also,
I agree.
right down to hoe friend. Listen, every girl group has a hoe friend. If you cannot identify the hoe friend in your group, you might be the hoe friend.
I knew you were going to say that. It might be you.
It might be you.
Also, I love that book, Real by Kennedy Ryan. It was so good.
Romance?
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine. I'm just adding it to the other list.
Such a good read.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about the Black Book Summit or anything? Because we are getting to our hour mark and we didn't want to keep you guys too long tonight.
We also didn't tell y'all about the final panel, which is
we didn't.
On Saturday, February 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is our shout outs and wrap up panel where we will be wrapping up the Black Book Summit and talking about all the great things that happen and also shouting out Black content creators and
as many as we can.
Yes. And we'll probably end up shouting out books and things like that too, because we always include that.
Book recs are kind of our thing too. So while we wait for people to answer questions or ask questions, is there anything coming up on Oh She Reads in the coming week? Also, yep, I was going to ask. Yes, should have knew.
On Oh She Reads? What do you mean? On my YouTube?
Is there anything in the Oshale brand that is coming to us during this week? Was that more specific?
Yeah, that was way more specific. Maybe.
You're gonna do that? All right.
Yeah. You'll get the behind the scenes. I'm learning and I feel like a lot of y'all are gonna feel me on this, but I'm learning more and more to move in silence. And to just let when things happen, to just let that speak for itself. Because I feel like sometimes when you speak on things too much, especially if you're like me, it becomes almost like scary because you're like, oh no, I've already said, this. And then you kind of like psych yourself out. So I've just learned to just stay in my lane, focus, and let, when you see it, you see it. Like, then
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
I can agree with that. I mean,
Under promise, over deliver.
oh man. Okay, I will be okay with that. Sorry for the random spam that popped in, guys. I wasn't fast enough to block. They were coming in quick.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, normal content is coming on all three of my channels, if you can. Melanin Eclectic is my brand, but we are three entities on YouTube. We are Read with Melanin, Game with Melanin, and Plan with Melanin. And tomorrow on Read with Melanin, we're going live and we're going to be setting up my February reading planner pages. I'll also be there to answer anybody's questions if you're having trouble with the creativity aspect of your planner. Like, I'll be there to answer questions while I work on mine. I will be printing out the tech kit that matches the February. Let me just plug myself. The February drawing. There is a matching kit in my shop, so we will be using that. But I have some spread ideas that I figured I might as well show you guys when I try to do it. Since we have so many Black events, I want to try to, make a spread about, all the different creators doing Black ass shit for Black History
Mhm.
Month. And I think I thought of the way that I want to list all of the books that I read for each month. So that's going to require some things too. So if you want to come join me tomorrow, that's on the Read with Melanin um, thing. And as usual, you can always just go to Melanin Eclectic on Instagram if you want to see stuff happening all the time. But I mean, if you're not on, what you're doing if you're not on? Let's see. Also, everybody agrees with you with this whole walk in silence or act in silence thing. I need to get better at that. What most are you both looking forward to? Oh, see, what are we both looking forward to that we've scheduled? I'm actually looking forward to the panels this year only because the topics that we picked this year were topics that we picked like months ago. Like, these topics were on a list from a conversation we randomly had in a chat months ago. And then it was like, well, when we finally fine tuned exactly what part of the conversations we wanted to talk about, it was like, these gonna be good. And then we realized we weren't the right people to host it, and accepting that is really uplifting.
It is. And like for me to add to that, I feel like it was such a relief, and Brittany really helped me with this, of like letting go of feeling the need to have to discuss our oppression. And whether it be our oppression as Black content creators and why we don't get enough views and subscribers. I'm not saying it in this voice to belittle that conversation, right? Or to make light of it. But it is very tiring and it is very exhausting to constantly be in that negative wavelength. And once Brittany helped me see the light, because it's like we were thinking about topics for panels and we're like, oh, what are like hot topics in the book community? And like the Black book community is always discussing this and always discussing that. Do we want to talk about this? Do we want to talk about that? And once she like helped me to release that and let it go, it just opened up this whole new world of talking about stuff that is going to be exciting and like energizing, and it's going to really help us to bring people together. Like, we're working with people we've never worked with before, that we've never really even met before, because we've been in such like a little YouTube bubble where a lot of the people that we've had on, either as special guests or the panelists we had last year, we knew in some way. We'd either met them before, we'd worked with them before, we knew them somehow. So once we let go of the shackles of needing to talk about, oh, woe is me, it just opened up this world of like, okay, now we get to really have a good time. We get to network. We get to reach out to people that we've never even worked with before and bring them together so they can meet one another, connect with one another. Like, that's what, at the end of the day, Black Pros, we're trying to build networks amongst ourselves. And, you know, we're trying to introduce y'all to one another. You know, you never know what could happen out of building connections where you just simply introduce people to each other, even if be on a panel where you're discussing something like this. Right. So that's what I'm really hype about this year. Like, I'm just like, oh, yes. We're just going to have fun. We're going to have a good time.
It's also forcing Black pros to really embrace this idea that, like, we cannot do what everyone else is doing and be successful. We can't. There are other people that have these discussions and cater to these discussions, and they cater to these discussions really, really well. And because they're already doing it, there's no reason for us to do it too. We just need to point y'all into the direction of the people that are already having these conversations. So it's like, we recognize that we aren't the person for everything anymore. And it's like, yeah, I want to do the ones that are super popular, but it's just like, actually, I want to talk about this. Like, I want to talk about this panini. That's what I want to talk about. And how I completely dropped the words, or how, like, I traded my reading with the PS5.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want to talk about stuff that we can actually talk about, where we don't feel like we have to censor ourselves or say things in a certain way to where they can be received. It's just, we are us. And where we fit in, no one else fits in. And where we are not, there's already somebody there that we can uplift. So that's just been the new shift that we've taken. And it's really just... Plus, we finally got Vina on a podcast. And I just want y'all to know, the way that we went through the titles, like, where can this WOC reader be the best in?
Yes. We totally did.
It was like
guilty.
Yeah, because also another thing was WOC Reader, like a couple weeks ago, was like, do not be, basically, like, don't try to exude all of this energy for Black History Month. And when I tell you, we took that too hard. Like, it was like, originally we were gonna do like 8 different panels, and we were going to do panels on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings, and we needed to make sure we covered every time zone. And it was just like, why are we doing that again? Do we really need to do that? And then it was like, we're doing 2 because
quality over quantity, and like the opportunity to work with the people that we've reached out to, we're really excited about. Just venturing more outside of like the YouTube bubble, we're excited about, because that's also one of our core, like, I don't want to say it's, well, I guess it's kind of part of our mission statement, but I guess it's more part of our core values and our goals, is to reach outside of our little YouTube bubble here and reach out to people that either y'all may have never seen or heard of before, or like that have other audiences and that are elsewhere, you know, whether they be in the blogosphere or they're journalists, or they be more in traditional media.
Or they own subscription boxes or work in bookstores. Like, the Black content creator is more than just YouTube. So we're getting out and we're trying to bring it all together. So yeah, I think this year is going to be great, just because of that new revelation. It's really nice when Black Prose has these like moments, I guess. Like, we just kind of grow, and as we're growing, we're really like digging into our niche and like figuring out where we stay. And I'm also really truly learning how to like set my personal feelings aside for shit, and it's great. It's hard as fuck.
It's very hard.
But it's great.
I guess we're in a way starting to treat it as like a separate entity from us, because when we started Black Prose, it was very much a part of us, very connected to us. And I guess as we're moving into our 3rd year, we're treating it as a her, as a she, as a, you know, a separate thing that we have to feed and water and prune and do what's best for. And it's not necessarily always about what we want or what, you know, we would like, but it's like, okay, what would be best for Black Prose, this community, you know?
Yeah.
Making the community stronger, better, faster. Also, I think I just started singing that Kanye song.
I know, I was just thinking that. Also, guys, we are going to test out possibly a podcast idea. I don't know how many we're going to do this month, but we are testing out a podcast idea, and we're going to take that podcast and try to put it on Spotify and see if it works. So, like, we'll be tweaking because when Troy Nicole comes back, Troy Nicole will be participating on our Spotify podcast. So we need to make sure that that's ready to go for our homie because we've got topics to talk about
We
already.
sure do. I feel like this podcast is just going to become like a way for us to like vent.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it is already. Like, before we even have ventured off into Spotify, we've always treated it like, let me rant about insert whatever.
Also, can I just say something? And I'm sorry. So I have been really obsessed with the TikTok trend. Like, what's something that, you know, if you say a lot out loud, you'll get a lot of hate for? I've watched so many of these.
Lot.
I'm just
Are
going
you
to
about to
say
say
this.
something that's going to get a lot of hate?
I don't know. I don't know where y'all feel, how y'all feel about this, but I just have to say this because it's just weighing on my soul. But Rihanna having a baby with is not a flex. Rihanna, you should have chosen the album.
She said Rihanna.
A$AP Rocky is not a flex. In fact, it is the downgrade of all downgrades. It is going to be a beautiful baby. I'm so excited to see her. She's going to be gorgeous. However, A$AP Rocky is a colorist. He's self-hating. He said really damaging things about dark-skinned women. I mean, can we even name 5 A$AP Rocky songs? I can't.
Listen, this is not something that you would get hate for.
The level of
way.
just downgrade that happened. I'm just like, did Rihanna just like slip and fall on his peen, and then she was like, "Well, I'm already here." I'm so confused.
You're really embodying a Britney-ish moment right now. I'm living for this, by the way.
Look, the moment I saw them at the Met Gala in those terrible outfits. Okay, Rihanna has never failed at the Met Gala. This is what the A$AP Rocky effect is. She has never failed at the Met Gala before. Her outfit is always amazing. It's always in all the blogs. She's always in the top trending list. Did y'all see that blanket she wore with that man? I was like, the second I saw that photo, I just knew things were going downhill. I knew that we were in for just mess. I was like, Rihanna, you have never failed at style. You get with this man, you're failing at style. What's next? What's next?
I think this is the best way that I can put it. I agree with Miss WOC Reader. I agree with basically all of Twitter and Lisa. Rihanna has a trend of dating colorist Black men. Like, all of her exes are colorist. She comes off very pick me in her dating choices. But then also in her very same breath is like pushing for all women and all this stuff. I'm not as surprised as I probably should be that she chose to procreate with a man who believes that women of his own skin tone should not wear specific colored lipsticks and things. I'm not surprised that she is procreating with a man who has clear self-hate embedded into his body. I'm not shocked. I know that might be shocking or might get hate for, but like,
the cognitive dissonance is wild because her mother is a dark-skinned woman. Almost all the women in her family are dark-skinned, like, or darker skinned than her. I don't want to just say dark-skinned. They're obviously a range of skin tones, but she is one of the lighter people in her family because she takes after her father. If you've ever seen a picture of Rihanna's father, you're like, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, she is surrounded by melanated people in her life.
It's like, I want them to have a daughter. I want their daughter to be cocoa, like dark chocolate cocoa.
But here's the thing, would that be good for her if her own father hates her? You know what I'm saying? Like,
he'll either have to eat his words and backtrack, or he'll stand in it.
Like, oh, I don't think so though, because look at Lil Wayne. He has a dark-skinned daughter and he continues to speak badly about dark-skinned women, talking about, oh, I don't even remember what he said, but it's been pretty egregious, the things that he said.
He will always be considered a disappointment and a walking drug story. So there's that. With his two dreads.
I just had to put that in because that news broke, I think yesterday. I think it broke yesterday. Did it break yesterday or early today? I can't remember.
I don't know. I know when I saw it, I rolled my eyes because one, we're never getting another album. And two, it's just like, I respect Rihanna on a lot of different levels, but her dating choices, not so much. And it's also none of my business. So I'm just going to shut my mouth because clearly they operate in an area that is far above my pay grade. And if she likes it, it ain't none of my business. I don't love it, but it ain't none of my business because of all the people to let a nut release, you chose ASAP Rocky.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. I guess it just made me realize like how much I admired Rihanna, and like this happening, I was just like,
it's like business wise, I still respect the business because one thing Rihanna gonna do is make her money in every way that she can except an album. And I'm sorry, I've been waiting for an album for forever. We just
it's
never
not happening.
we just never gonna get one.
We're getting a baby. We're not getting an album.
Like Fenty was the first sets of lingerie that I ever bought where I didn't feel like a fat girl trying to stuff into lace. Like Fenty makeup, the foundation and I are still besties next to Juvia's Play stuff. So it's like, I respect what she's done. I don't agree with her personal life choices, but luckily I don't have to agree with her personal life choices when she chose to procreate with somebody.
Oh no.
You gotta get a lullaby single.
I mean, yeah, everything you said. I can only shake my head. I'm gonna be like those aunties, those Nigerian aunties that just go, uh-huh.
Not getting your full Nigerian on.
And you just go, oh.
Also, Reese with Rachel says, what if she names the baby album just to stick it to everyone? I
hope not. I hope not.
Celebrities do name their kids wild things.
The weirdest things. I mean, let's be honest. She's probably going to end up a single mom. Do we really think it's going to work out with ASAP Rocky? It's not.
We're still gonna pray for positive co-parenting.
Oh yeah, I think that'll be fine. ASAP Rocky doesn't seem like a bad person. I don't think he's gonna be a bad dad or anything like that. I'm just like, well,
not everybody doing the sound effects. Everybody's commenting their sound effects.
I know exactly which one that one is. It's the
not you knowing to translate the sound with the words.
Is when you just suck your teeth. You're like,
oh man,
that's exactly what it is. It's just not okay. Oh, can we talk about how, okay, so y'all know that Nick Cannon unfortunately tragically lost his youngest son over the holidays. Yeah. He was an infant and he passed away because he had health complications. Well, the mother of his son who passed is very upset that Nick Cannon is now having a new baby with another girl, not even 2 months after his youngest son.
I mean, okay, so wait a minute, because according to the math, old girl was already pregnant before they lost their son. So the math doesn't match here.
It doesn't match.
Was she expecting to be the last one?
Maybe she was.
Sweetie, nothing about Nick Cannon says that he's finished. Nothing.
He might even surpass Future. I think he might surpass Future. And then
the only thing what's funny is I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, listen.
Oh my God, no. Please.
Okay. Listen.
Was she wrong? Were they wrong?
No. Because, okay, so hear me out. Because when you make the decision to be baby mama number 7,
what do you expect?
Why are you shocked that there's a baby mama number 8? Yes, I understand that you are grieving, and I can't imagine what you're going through. But in order to do a gender reveal, in order to reveal that it's a girl, that baby had to be incubating for months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this wasn't like he just made the baby type thing. Like,
right.
He made this baby while y'all were going through what y'all were going through together. Because I will give Nick Cannon his credit. He is a very active father for somebody with a whole squad of children and mothers. Thank you, Nick Cannon and his harem. That is the perfect description. Like, he's one of the few people with a harem that seems to really be out here participating in all of his kids' events. And clearly his money is what's making him able to do that.
My only concern is the kids are not going to grow up that close because they all have different moms. And I don't see the moms having a group chat with each other. You know what I'm saying? I don't see Mariah Carey starting a group chat.
I definitely don't see Mariah Carey talking to none of the other ones. None one.
I don't see her being like, well, Monroe and Moroccan's birthday is coming up, and I would love for their brothers and sisters to attend the party, darling. Like, I don't see that happening.
I'm fairly certain she told Nick that if he wants all of his children to participate, that he should throw his own party for the kids. I'm 1,000% certain that's what she said, because we already know what she said about Nick having the babies, but when he only had like 4. Mm-hmm. So we already know how she feels about that. But my statement still stands. If you choose to become baby mama number 7, 8, or 9, or 4, I just don't know how.
Here's my question. How is this attractive to a woman to have a baby with a man that has babies with 6 other women?
I want to know what it's like. I want to know what the discussion is like, because in our world, if I was on an online dating site, I mean, back when I was on online dating, there was a guy who matched with me. And you know why we unmatched? He had 5 kids by 5 different baby mothers. I was like, nope, we're good. Because 1, I'm not going to become baby mama number 6.
Here's the thing.
You are not making smart choices.
Here's the thing. For me, as a girl who grew up with my father's side having polygamy, that's what it sounds like to me. It just sounds like it's not really in the open, and they're not calling it what it is, but that's exactly what it is. Like, if you're with a man that has gotten 3, 4, 5 other women pregnant and has kids with them, welcome to polygamy. That's what you're in.
Family. Because I don't know what type of agreement is happening, but it's not only is he having a lot of babies, but he's having these babies back to back to back. Like, it's not like, oh, welcome so and so, 9 months later, another one. It's literally like, oh, look, Nick Cannon had twins. 2 weeks later, Nick Cannon is welcoming your next baby. I'm like,
those pictures of him at their baby showers were literally within like months of each other.
Every time they post the maternity photos, I crack up laughing, because they're always like less than a month apart.
But what do you tell your kids? Like, oh yeah, you have 7 brothers and sisters, and this one's mom is this, and this one's mom is this, and they live in California, and they live in.
Y'all are all actually the same age. You're only older by 2 weeks.
Do you just have a map with the pin for all, like, your sibling is here and your sibling is here and you're like, it just sounds like dysfunction to me. Like, I understand that he has the money to afford this and they're gonna grow up pretty privileged, but this is just dysfunctional as heck. Like, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. The one I remember that video.
She dodged a bullet. I'm sorry. I don't think she would want to do this.
I don't know if she feels that way, but like, she dodged a bullet, because because one of my guy friends was like, so are you telling me if Nick Cannon came at you and like wanted to have a baby with you, like, you wouldn't even consider it? I bet you'd even consider it. And I was like, first of all, no, because I think pregnancy is terrifying. Number 1. The thing that women or people with uteruses go through to produce babies is so crazy. I have nothing but the utmost respect. But what I will not do is become somebody's baby mama, because that means that they will always be a part-time parent.
Yes.
And I want full-time commitment. And I
Yes.
know that I would not get that from somebody who already has a football team.
And also, I feel like our society really downplays the importance of the role of a father in a child's life, being there every day and, being there to take on just as much responsibility as the mother. Like, we as a society seem to think like, oh no, like the kids need moms. Like, no, they need to have a mom or a mom figure in their life. But we don't think the same about the father, right? We're more accepting of fathers being absent, whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally. We're more accepting of fathers like only seeing their kids in the summer for 3 months. And like, it bothers me because there are psychological studies that show that when fathers are absent in their children's lives and are not there and are not present, whether it be just they're physically there and they're providing, but they're not emotionally available, it causes
Right.
detrimental effects to a child's, upbringing, their psychology, like their development. And so I just don't understand why we're so accepting of men like Nick Cannon who have like 7, 6, 5, 6, 7 kids. And obviously they can't be in those houses. You can't tuck your kids in every night. Every kid. You can't be there at bath time. You can't read them a bedtime story. You can't be there at breakfast. You can't help with them with their homework. You probably can't go to most of the parent teacher conferences, the games, the meets, the matches, the
And they're
plays.
all the same age. So what you gonna do graduation day?
It's just so frustrating to me because I'm just like, you spread yourself way too thin. There's so many different households. And then what happens when these women meet other guys? And some of them get married to somebody else, and it's a mess. It frustrates me.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and then this is gonna be one of those moments. The way that social media has built up this idea that the single mother is the problem will never not be hilarious to me, because it's always just like there's a glorification behind a man who can produce a squad of children. And yeah, you see him taking pictures with them during Christmas. You see him at the baby shower. You see him at the birth of the child. But like, where you don't see him in between those times. You see him there for birthdays, but he seems to only be posting, like, it's like he literally is a part-time dad, because on the other side of trying to be there for all those children, he's also working his 8 million jobs,
Yep.
because we all know Nick Cannon works 8 million jobs.
Yes.
Like, he's constantly working.
Yep.
And that's bad enough for one household. He's got 7.
And so for me, it's frustrating because as a woman to agree to a situation like this, as a cishet woman to agree to this type of setup, are you really being a good mom by bringing a child into this world in that kind of situation? It just seems very selfish. I don't know if they're thinking about the money and the lifestyle or the fact that he's a celebrity. I'm not sure. Or maybe they become brainwashed by his philosophy, because when he was questioned about it, he was like, oh, I'm spreading love. I'm building a community, da 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 da. Like he
Oh
puts
yeah,
it.
because he also made the whole thing about like no one's meant to be monogamous. And I was just like,
So he's painted this like idyllic picture of like just expanding and spreading love and da 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 da. But as a child growing up in that situation, how would the child feel? You go to school, you see all your classmates, they get to be with their dads every day. Some of them get to be with their dads every other weekend or whatever the custody agreement is if the dad's not, married to the partner or whatever the case may be. If the dad's not physically in the home all the time, you at least get to see them doing things with their father all the time. And
right.
you're like, well, my dad is at Mariah's house this week with Rock and Row, and then he's gonna next week he's at so and so's house because they are in a play, and then 2 weeks from now, oh, in 7 weeks, he told me in his schedule because he has to work. In seven
Right.
weeks, I'll see him.
And that's what I'm saying. And this is also another big point that novelist brings up. I would understand if they lived underneath the same house, but there must be some sort of dishonesty if your baby mamas are so-called shocked. There's a reason that that baby mama was shook. when she found out about that baby shower because she didn't know, which means there is a level of dishonesty in this where he's sitting there trying to act like he's not doing anything wrong. He's hurt, like she's hurting. Is he comforting her? Nah,
Right.
he at the baby shower. Like
The next baby.
it's just like I want to understand what is going through their head because I am not doing that. I don't care how much you make, Nick Cannon. I will be a single mother with a father who makes special event visits. And I'm sorry, I'm not being a single mother. I hear about people parenting. Parenting sounds even harder than pregnancy. And I'm just not. No, I'm not doing it.
Here's the other thing that people have noted is that all the women he's chosen have been these racially ambiguous, biracial. I know one of them is white.
They said that they were his Wild 'N Out girls.
One of them was, or maybe two of them. So that's also another thing is people are questioning the psychology behind his choices because they're like, as a Black man, why is it that you have chosen to only have children with women who do not look like you, and you are producing children that do not look like you? Well, in the skin tone. I'm sure some of them have his features. So they're just kind of like, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, like I think about it from the sense of like, not only is it damaging to the women that he's choosing to have children with, even if they're not realizing like how damaging that kind of mindset is, it's still like that affects all those children. Every one of those children will always see their dad as part-time. Yeah, he's got money, all that. Cool. You'll probably never want for the rest of your life. Like he's probably got some stuff set up where you'll always have money, but we all know money is not everything.
Yeah.
Also that he went on TV. And that's another thing. He doesn't claim any of them as his girlfriends or lovers or anything. Like he will shout them out as the mother of his children on Mother's Day. But other than that, no. And also kids are dicks. I'm sorry. Imagine going to school and telling people that your dad is Nick Cannon in school where you know kids are just horrible.
I just want to say about the Mother's Day shout out. I hope Nick Cannon knows that Instagram only allows you to attach 10 photos per post. That is all. That is all.
I'm just
what?
I'm not thinking, it's like, yeah, obviously they're rich. Rich people do rich people things, but I don't even think this is a rich people thing. I think this is actually just bad.
It's very dysfunctional.
It's like, are we thinking about the children involved here?
It's extremely dysfunctional, and because they're rich, it's like they can escape the criticism of a guy who is normal that they would call ghetto, or they'd be like, well, this is damaging, this is ghetto, this is this. But because he's rich, he is insulated from those type of criticisms. And also because he's rich, people always fall back on like, well, he can afford it. He can afford to take care of them all.
But by also, in the same breath, they're also calling all of his baby mama dumb hoes in the very same breath that they're praising him, that he's able to afford putting his dick in everything. Like, it just,
ooh.
I too have friends who are still dealing with the emotional trauma of their dad only being financially supportive. I definitely feel like, and it's like, we're not talking about this enough. Like, we're not talking about the ramifications of these broken homes. He can say that they're not broken, but like, you're part-time. Are these women okay? Do they have
at this point? I think it's what, 5-6 women now, maybe more. It's not even part-time anymore. It's like 1/4 time.
Yeah. This thing, if he was Joe Blow, they would be calling him ghetto. But because he has coins and celebrity, it's acceptable. But it's like, if I saw a guy like Nick Cannon on a dating site where he said he had kids with 7 baby mamas, I would literally be like, nope, unmatched, not interested, no way. Because in my mind, I'm like,
he's gonna try to make you the next one,
right? But he's getting like, The amount of comments that I see underneath the comments, some of the comments be funny, like they really do be doing that. But like it's been proven time and time again that a lot of us in this particular generation are still seeking therapy because the mentality of my father is the financial support is not as good as we claimed it was. And we're also in a different period of life where he needs to be more than just the financial person.
Agreed.
And he has lupus. He may not be around long enough to always be that financial cornerstone that everybody's bragging that he's able to be right now.
Mm.
He may come to a time where he may not be able to work
Right.
anymore, but we're not talking about that because he's rich and
He's
he's
got it right
doing
now.
well here.
He's got it right now, and so nobody's looking to the future.
Yeah, and it's like, but what about these kids? It's like, yes, I feel bad for some of the women, but at the same time, like when you make those decisions, you do have to live with your consequences.
I don't feel bad for any of them because they
And
know after the first two, they knew what was up.
I really feel like he's the kind of dude that probably straight up told them what it was too.
Yeah,
And some of them thought that they could change his mind.
I'm sure some of them did.
Because we all know we have a tendency to sometimes look at trouble and instead of throwing trouble into the ditch where it belongs, we want to try to fill it with water. So
All right, y'all. We are past our hour and a half mark. I just want to end this by saying thank you so much for coming. We have had some great discussions tonight. I don't want to end things on that note, so I will say I do have a book recommendation. I am currently listening to the audiobook Miss Me With That. And it is by the first Black bachelorette, Rachel.
She writes books?
She just came out with her memoir called Miss Me With That. And I've really been enjoying it. I've been listening to it for the past several days. But by Rachel Lindsay, Miss Me With That, hot takes, helpful tidbits, and a few hard truths. Cover is so cute. So I really recommend it, even if you're not a fan of the Bachelor, Bachelorette franchise, you've never seen an episode. She was the first Black lead ever in the franchise, and they chose her to be the Bachelorette back in, I want to say, 2017. And this book has been really interesting, and it's very entertaining. And I've just been listening to it on my commute to and from work in the car, and she does read it herself. So that is my book recommendation of the evening.
If you are not following Black Pros, we ask that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we are still on the road to 1,000 subscribers so we can start working towards a good monetization. We are also hoping that you check us out on Instagram and Twitter, and we hope to see you back for our next event. All of our lives for the Black Book Summit have already been scheduled. So you can go set your reminder so that you will always be ready to go no matter what time zone you're in. And I hope that you guys have a lovely night. I hope you guys remember to stay blackety black, black, black. I don't know what's in store for us this month, but I hope we all have a wonderful time.
Bye, guys.